Hi, my name is Judie VanKooiman, and you're watching Life Issues. This month's show is Faces of Resilience, and my guests are Barbara Hopkinson and JoAnn Rivieccio. Welcome, ladies.
Hi, Judy.
Barbara, I'm going to start with you. This is actually your third time on my show.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me back again.
Yes, but a lot has happened in your life in the last time. But we're going to start with, what is your professional background?
Oh, I was in the corporate world, international software and technology for probably 30, 35 years, including 10 years at IBM. So I've done a lot of work, but then I retired about 7 years ago to focus on giving back and on my nonprofits. And so now I have two of them, a local support group, the Compassionate Friends of Greater Newburyport, and a Butterfly's Journey.
Okay. All right, great. And can you please tell us about your losses in your life?
Sure. I've lost three children, a 21-year-old son, Brent, a full-term stillborn son, Robbie, and a baby miscarriage. And then those were several years ago. And then 2 years ago, my second husband died, so I'm a widow as well. And if we're talking about losses, I've actually lost my right eye as well as a prosthetic. So to me, finding resilience and helping other people find resilience after all different types of losses is what I'm dedicated to.
Mm-hmm. You're very good and very passionate about it, too. I know. And Barbara, what is a certified grief recovery specialist?
It's somebody who's certified to teach grief recovery method classes, either one-on-one or group. It covers 43 different kinds of loss and even pet loss, but there's all kinds of loss, not just death. But in any case, the methodology has been used about 40 years on 6 continents, and it's recently, I think last year, became evidence-based, which is basically scientific results being proved that it really does help, that really does work. So I'm certified in the grief recovery method by the Grief Recovery Institute.
Okay, good. And JoAnn, I'm going to switch over to you. What is your professional background?
Well, I've done many things. Actually, I worked for Verizon, so I guess I was in telecommunications as well. And I worked in a computer room. I actually retired. I was going to say graduate. I retired 14 years ago after 28 years of service. And then I started to work for the city of Somerville. And I'm a manager in the food service department. And I'm union president for my local union, 274 Axme.
Okay. So you've got a full plate, too.
And plus, I'm a recovery coach.
Right.
Okay.
Can you please tell us about your family?
Yes. I was married for 32 years and been divorced for 12. The best part of my life. It's been wonderful. I have 2 children. My son, Frankie, has passed away at 32. He would have been 42. And I have a younger son, Patrick, and he's 39. And I have 2 beautiful grandchildren from them.
Oh,
that's awesome. Oh. Yeah, Barbara can relate to that.
Yeah, well, I know. I didn't say that. My remaining son is Brad, and then my second husband, Jim's 3 kids, Matt, Chris, and Melanie. And Brad and his wife, Kim Sue, have given me 2 grandchildren. A 2-year-old, Brent, who's named after my son, and then his 3-month-old little sister, Soraya Jean.
Yeah, and they're precious, too. Yeah. I've seen pictures. Yes. And JoAnn, did you know at the time that Frankie was addicted to OxyContin, and how did he die?
Okay. When he was 21 years old, he decided that he wanted to buy a motorcycle. I begged him not to because I knew him for 21 years, and I knew that it would not be good. He would not pay attention. And in less than a month, he had a major motorcycle accident, which started his addiction to OxyContin. He fought a 10-year battle, and we're in and out of detoxes. I even had him sectioned. He asked me to have him sectioned because his insurance company wouldn't allow him to stay as long as he should have. And as we know, that we need long-term recovery. So you need at least 1.5 years of sober homes and you know. And so Frankie died in his bedroom, and I was making bacon and eggs, and I went to go and wake him, and he had already passed. So I found my son.
Sorry for
So,
that.
Yeah, that was November 15th of 2009, so we just had a 10-year anniversary. Yeah. So yes, I did know that Frankie was addicted, and so wasn't my younger son. Both, I had 2 children, and both had addiction issues. So my whole life has been affected. At least half of my life has been affected with addiction.
But your other son is in recovery.
He's in recovery for the past 7 years.
That's
I'm
great.
thankful for that. But it's still one day at a time.
Right, exactly. That's all you can do.
And I think that one of the reasons that he is because he's got 2 beautiful children. And sometimes that will help you stay in recovery.
Right. And Barbara, what is a butterfly's journey?
Butterfly's Journey is a nonprofit that I started back in 2013 and actually turned it into a 501c3 nonprofit in 2015. And it's about finding resilience after loss, grief recovery. So we have an online free resource center, and then we teach the grief recovery method classes. But the other thing that I do that's a little more unique is photo shoots at grief events. And the purpose, the mission of that is for open expression around grief, loss, and love, because people don't get to really talk about their grief, and that's the most healing thing you can do. So we go, and I've done these photo shoots all over the world, and we've named them Faces of Resilience. And we actually have come out with our first photo book, which is hopefully the first in a series also. But it's a nonprofit that is really trying to help people recover and express themselves around their grief.
Okay. And what is your mission statement?
My mission is, I kind of just stated it, right? My mission is to help people recover from traumatic grief and to encourage open expression around grief, loss, and love.
Okay. And you founded an organization that you mentioned earlier, Compassionate Friends. Please tell us more about that.
Yeah, so this is a local chapter of a national organization. The Compassionate Friends USA is the largest grief organization in the world, and it supports families that have lost a child, grandchild, or sibling. And there's about 600 or 700 chapters all over the U.S., so I founded one of those a year after my 21-year-old died. It's the Compassionate Friends of Greater Newburyport. And they just actually had their 50th anniversary. It was started in the UK, and they had their international conference, which I did a photo shoot at, in London in November. So, yeah, it's really an amazing organization. It's all volunteer-based, and it's mostly parents and grandparents and siblings helping each other. It's kind of peer-based grief recovery.
Yeah. Every little bit of help.
So we have monthly support meetings for families that have lost a child, grandchild, sibling, any age, any cause. And then we do an annual, that we just last weekend, or recently did a global candle lighting, which forms a global 24-hour memorial around the world for people lighting from 7 to 8 p.m. in their local time zone. And then we occasionally do some other events locally too.
That's nice. Good. And JoAnn, can you please tell us about Somerville Overcoming Addiction? What is that?
Well, that's an interesting story. Back in 2013, when Governor Patrick Duvall had deemed that we had an epidemic, the community had a meeting, and at that community meeting, at least 10 to 12 of us started meeting on a weekly basis after that, and we had no idea what the name of our group was going to be. And one of them was Matt Gannum, as you know, is CEO for Banyan Treatment Center, and Mike Duggan, who is still a part of RCA, and had his own business called Wicked Sober. And I had just lost my son like 3 years prior to that, and I was a part of Revere. You know how the Revere cares about prevention. So we decided that we would form a group, and we finally put our name together as Some of Overcoming Addiction. And the first thing we did as a group was have a vigil. We wanted to celebrate the lives of the people that were lost through addiction. And we kind of like followed through doing the same thing that Rivieccio did. You know, having the fire department there, they rang the bell. We would mention everyone that passed. And at the end, we would have a few, we've had people sing and have music, and we also had people do, like Matt Gannum, poetry.
From Poultry. He's awesome.
You know, and we would just keep it to that. We didn't have any politicians come in and speak. We wanted solely to celebrate the people that have passed. Mm-hmm. And then from there, we decided that we were a grassroots group, and we wanted to educate the community. We wanted to end stigma, and we also wanted to try to stop try to end overdoses, but that's going to take quite a bit of time and effort to try to educate people on that.
Right, exactly. And JoAnn, what is your mission statement?
That's actually it.
Okay.
I have, community, to engage the community and have them be educated about addiction, as well as not only in the schools, but also to teach parents, because parents have to learn to be able to talk to the kids about difficult, the difficult talk. Nobody likes to talk about addiction, especially they feel that it's not my child, and that's what we're trying to get them away from, not my child.
Yeah, it can't
and the
happen.
one main thing that we try to do is to have the parents have a plan. We have a plan. We have our own pediatrician. We have a dentist. But do we ever plan for finding out our child has an addiction issue? So I tell them to try to look into doctors in the area that handle it, and put that aside. Write it all down and put it in the drawer. And if you never use it, great. But you'll be prepared, because you're going to be so emotionally distraught knowing that your child is having a problem with drugs, that at least you'll already have it written down, and talk to your pediatrician. That's very, very important, because it depends on the age group. Because Mass General does have something called the ARMS, ARMS, and that is for children like 12 to 17. And that's what you really need to do, is be prepared.
Right.
So.
That's very important.
I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you. And you're also a recovery coach. What is that?
Recovery coach helps. I always say that you can't force anybody to go into recovery. So when I went to the class to learn to be a recovery coach, what you do is actually sit there and give them their options of what they can do. Help them make a decision for themselves. You don't force them to do it. You have to do this, you got to do this, you got to do that. These are your options, and a lot of police stations, courthouses, and hospitals now have recovery coaches that they have hired. And it's basically someone to sit down and help someone plan their future of free of addiction in a nice way. Someone that's compassionate. I always say that we really should have, classes on, the emergency room gets inundated with a lot of people in addiction. And it's very, very hard for them to give them that personal kind of caring approach that is necessary to help someone. You can't just say, here's a list. Because their plan, as Duggan had said, Michael Duggan had said to me, he says, when I was asked, what is your plan when you get out of detox? He says, my plan got me here. So, they're so, the addiction has gotten to them to the point that they don't really know what their next step is going to be, even though they do want to be free from drugs. So it's like being a coach, being there and helping them make decisions along the way, but ultimately it is their decision.
Right. Right. Okay. Barbara, you've written 3 books and co-authored some books, and the third one was just released last year. What is the name of it, and why did you want to do this book?
It's the name of it is Faces of Resilience. You have it right there. Hold it up. So this is, again, these photo shoots that I do all over the country, and just this year have taken them international. It's about people expressing their grief, and so when we take their photo, they write on their skin. It's very visceral, and so it's cathartic for them to express their grief, and then we send them the photos, so it's a catalyst for them to talk about their grief when they get home, which is the most healing thing you can do, is just being able to talk about it. So the Faces of Resilience is a photo book with a mix of all different, this first one is a mix of all different kinds of, loss of, spouses, and loss of children and grandchildren, and even parents and grandparents. It's a mix of all different people expressing themselves. And I hope to do more of them in a series with relevant topics, like maybe military. There's so much issues, or suicide, or overdose. People that have, families that have lost to that, for them to be able to express themselves.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Okay. And you mentioned your photo shoots and all over the place.
Yeah, we actually met at a photo shoot at a walk on the Capitol about the opioid crisis. That's where JoAnn and I met, in Washington, D.C., and then I did a photo shoot at her last vigil in Somerville.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And
And I had her on the show.
Yeah, that's right. I was on your show as well, yeah.
So you mentioned London.
Yeah.
What other places over,
Oh, goodness.
out of
All
the
right, so this year,
United States?
so just the past year, we did Philadelphia, Seattle, St. Louis, did Winnipeg, Canada, did London, did the Caribbean. We actually did 3 bereavement cruises. They're journeys of hope, healing, and health. I've done 3 of those that have been cruises in the Caribbean. We did, I've done Orlando, Scottsdale, Arizona, all over the place. So we've done quite a few sites. I think we did 11. I think I counted just this year. We did 11 photo shoots in 3 countries, and Boston as well. So we kind of do average of 1 a month.
Wow.
At different events, and the events range from 100 people to 1,600 people. At an event. So we it's like a mobile photo shoot. We bring a photographer and lights, and it's professionally done, and then we bring everything back and edit them before we send them.
Wow.
I just got my last one.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And you just received an award last month. Can you please tell us more about that?
Yeah, this award, I am proud of it. This is the International Association of Top Professionals gave me an award for being the top professional in resilience after loss for 2019. And they had a beautiful dinner, an award dinner in Las Vegas just recently, where we were able to we got presented the award. It was lovely, but it was a big formal dinner, and yeah, they do some other events and things during the year. But it was a big honor, and for them to have chosen me through some sort of a panel. I'm not sure exactly how they found me.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Thank you.
And everything that you do for people that have gone through
thank you.
difficult times and stuff. So.
Thank you. Everybody suffers grief in some way, but it's hard. People don't want to talk about it, and it's hard to find funding for it because it's just one of those topics that kind of gets squashed. I'm sure, like addiction.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. JoAnn, what are some tips that you can give someone that has had someone in their life that has passed away, or try to get through the grief?
Well, I think that it's pretty hard to. Everybody is an individual, so. For me, it was easier for me to try to help others, and that's why getting involved in some of overcoming addiction really helped me to deal with the loss of my son, Frankie. And I do belong to a lot of other groups, and I think that if the hardest thing for people is at night when they're home and they're alone. And I feel that, on Facebook, there are quite a few groups there that you can join. It's a groups that you don't ever want to be a part of, but you are because you lose a loved one. And one of them is team sharing. And team sharing has become, as a matter of fact, I had Cheryl Joair on my show, and she had just started the Massachusetts chapter and went on to New Hampshire, and now she's nationally has 11 to 12 chapters in different states. And I think it's a great thing that if you're lonely and you need someone to talk to, you can go on the Facebook page, become a member, and there's always someone there.
Yeah, and I'd love to mention another resource like that, because the Compassionate Friends, and it's compassionatefriends.org, and if you go there, you can actually, there's a resource, they have Facebook groups for all different kinds of losses, and so you can actually go and connect into one, including one for substance-related losses.
I'm going to have to look at that.
And another great resource besides mine is butterfliesjourney.org, and then the Resource Center. But another big one, probably one of the biggest, is Open to Hope, and they have again all different kinds of grief-related resources that are all online.
Right, and I think it's really a wonderful thing to have all these resources, no matter what time.
Right.
That you have someone that open up and you know, tell you how, what they've done to be able to overcome.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just to listen to someone, because they ask me, how did you do it? I said, it's not easy. It isn't easy. You grieve and you think about your child or your husband or whoever has passed on all the time.
Yeah, especially
it just
children,
comes a little bit less because you're keeping yourself busy. The worst thing is to be home and alone, because that's when you think more.
Yeah. I had the last chapter of my first book, A Butterfly's Journey, I remember I wrote it after 10 years after losing my older son. There were like 3 tips that what is the 3 most important things, and one of them was be open to trying new things and trust your gut as opposed to everybody else's advice, because you know better.
Right.
And everybody's grief is unique.
Yep.
Second was helping others helps you heal. That is probably one of the biggest single things that helps you heal if you reach out and help others in any way. Doesn't even have to be related to the grief. And then the third was it's all about the love. So to focus on the positive memories and the love that you shared, and realize that your loved one, if you had them for a short time, it was a gift to you, not just a loss. So if you can, think of it that way, and that helped me a lot, is once I started thinking about my son's life as a gift and not just a loss. It was a big turning point for me.
It's good. It's good. And JoAnn, what are some tips that you can give someone that has, what are the towns that SOA helped start?
Oh, it's amazing. I think the first one we started with was Cambridge Overcoming Addiction. Then we went on to Arlington, Medford, Malden, Watertown. We just went in and gave
That's good.
suggestions as what to do.
Great.
That's
So
good.
this in Waltham.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
It was
So
really,
that's
really
nice.
good to. It's really amazing how small this world is.
Yeah.
And due to the fact that 80% of the country is affected by addiction.
Yeah.
We bonded, and we do a lot of events together. We all support each other, and it's a great thing having all these people available.
The parents that come to me for my chapter, it used to be, years ago when I started it 15 years ago, it was about 10%. Now it's about 50%. That's related, to addiction. Almost every other death. It's such a
horrible.
shame.
Yeah.
Either suicide or addiction.
JoAnn, you have a local access cable show. Please tell us
do.
about that.
Well, it's funny because in 2014, I decided that I wanted to do something other than just, having our group. And I thought that if we actually had a show, we could communicate to people in my community about, what's available to them. So I went down to SCAT. I became a member, and like 6 months later, I had Vet Wilkes come to me and said, she came to a MORE meeting, which is Mass Organization for Addiction Recovery, and she says, "Oh yeah, we're going to start a show, and I'm going to do the show with JoAnn." I said, "Oh, that's wonderful. When are we starting?" I had no idea. So her and I started the show, and I just didn't want myself to be the only one on the show, so I had a co-host. Her name was Judie Walker, and actually Judie left last year, and I'm on my own. But we started off twice a month, and we started interviewing like different, I don't know if you know Maureen Cavanaugh, she wrote the book, If You Love Me, and it was about her daughter and her, and the thing is, if you love me, you'd let me go. She was saying, you know, and it's like, that was pretty hard for her. So I started to interview people from different groups. So we had Learn to Cope, we had Family Anonymous out of Midford. So we had all these different groups come on, doctors, just to tell people their side of the story, just like you. It's just like The View. We just sit there and we talk about things, and mine is a live show for 1 hour. And so there's many a times I probably put my foot in my mouth. Like now.
Just getting the word out there is the important thing.
But it's really, it really has come a long way. And it's good that the community knows. I mean, now we have it on YouTube. So if there's any, you know, any episodes that people want to see, they can see it that way.
Good.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I enjoy it.
Okay, good.
I'm sure you do too.
Yes, yeah, because like I said, just getting the word out is the important thing and stuff. And
Absolutely.
I've met many interesting and fascinating people over the years, and
that's why I won my award, because I actually bring it out there to all different people.
Yeah.
So that was with the Alliance of Community Media, Northeast region.
Congratulations
But,
on that.
which was, I was shocked about that.
Yeah. Okay. To wrap things up, Barbara, if anyone would like any more information, please give us your contact info.
Yeah, so my website is abutterfliesjourney.org, and that's possessive, not plural, so it's FLYS. Phone is 617-410-6309, or info@abutterfliesjourney.org is the email.
Okay, great. And JoAnn, can you give us your contact info if anyone has any questions?
Sure. The telephone number for some of Overcoming Addiction is 857-236-1028. I'll mention that again, because sometimes you don't get it the first time. 857-236-1028. My phone is always on. I will answer it 24 hours a day.
And you have a
Okay,
Facebook
great.
page.
Yes, and my
All right.
Facebook page is under Some of Overcoming Addiction.
I'm sorry, but that's all the time that we have. Thank you both for all you do for those in need. I'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions. Please send them to lifeissuestv@gmail.com. And remember, live each day to the fullest and celebrate life.